Well, I appreciate you guys trying and joining me. It made it about an hour before it spazzed out, so we're getting there. I remember how this goes in here. Let's go this way. All right. I don't know what happened. It just said your internet connection, blah blah blah, and then when kept trying to reconnect, and then it wouldn't see my camera. So I think we're about to stop here, just because I need to get some other stuff done, and this does slow it down a bit. I don't know if I can edit the two bits of the live stream together. I'm not sure why they have this card here. I mean, though it's obviously shielding, it's not shielding all well, just because the way that the layout goes. Let's see. Anyway, I'm gonna change out those screen grid resistors for some 5 watt 1Ks or 470Ks. I don't remember what I ordered. Right now, I don't recall if that's a 6L6 or 34. If it's a 6L6, I use 470Ks. If it's 34, I used 1Ks. And I see a electrolytic there I forgot about. So I need to see what that is and swap that out. I'm sure I've got that in about that value in stock. Fire it up, and at that point, hopefully, it's just a matter of cleaning pots and stuff. We should have all the nasty noise that was plaguing this gone. So Scott, I got a box from you, but I've not opened it up yet. Sorry, I got a lot of cardboard coming in every day, and I'm sorry. I will check it out. Maybe I'll do that in just a minute. Actually, if you guys want to talk and turn this into a mini QA, aside from this PV Butcher, hang out, talk amongst yourselves. Gives me like 5 minutes, and we'll just do a little Q&A thing, and I'll focus on your questions. Isn't that a crazy idea? So give me like 5 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm live streaming. Sorry, I'm live streaming. All right, I'm more or less back. Sorry, my coffee was cold, and there was a side effect to drinking 2 cups of coffee while doing the previous stuff. So, yeah, I'm back now. Uh, yeah, my wife was about to ask me some questions, and I thought my stage whisper would be a little less audible. I failed. Anyway, so ask me some questions while you got me. I guess I can do about 15, 20 minutes, and I need to get back to this. And I don't trust the live stream. I'm looking at the comments. I tend not to comment on other YouTube techs. I have nothing but respect for Colleen. I like Brad a lot. Uncle Doug seems to know his stuff. For those I don't have praise, I just don't mention. Are there Neo speakers I like? I have not heard any that I like, but I have not heard all of them on the market. So, I'm not going to say that they suck. I would say that probably all of them involve some level of compromise. And if it sounds good to you, it is good. They certainly save a lot of weight. A silk tone? No, I have not. Failing on the 1484. What's failing on the 1484? I mean, I know you're talking about silver tone, but best ways to get started in amp repair. I would say build a lot of pedals first. Make sure that every pedal you build works the first time and that you never make any mistakes, because those same mistakes that are like, oh, dang it, on a pedal can be very expensive or dangerous in an amp. Multi-section caps, still have the same opinion on them. I use them as infrequently as possible. I still use them on the occasional Champ or Princeton, though I am going to be designing a little PCB that'll drop into those so I can use discrete caps, just because the stuff that's still on the market is not as good as it used to be. Stuck between Friedman and Soldano for a new amp. Do I have a preference? They've got a couple of different models, quite a few different models, and they all do different things, and I've not played them all. They would come down really to, are we talking like an old SLO or one of the current 20-watt things? Are we talking a B100 or a Dirty Shirley Jr.? I don't know what your budget is, but the guy who wants one because he wants to sound like Warren Haynes is not going to be happy with the Jerry Cantrell and vice versa. So they're all good apps. Play them, see what speaks to you. Ever had a Rivera on the desk? Yeah, Riveras are the actual Riveras, not the stuff that Paul is trying to do with Fender and getting blocked by accountants. The actual Riveras tend to be very well built amps. I think that there's a lot of stuff going on inside them, and so repairs can be expensive, but it's not like a Mesa thing where they were trying to do too much. I want to add additional adjustable bias to a Pro Junior. Don't worry about it, Scott. On a Pro Junior, a Blues Junior, I take the Princeton Reverb model. Princeton shipped with a fixed bias. There's just a resistor network that says, hey, this is what the bias voltage is. And some tubes would be hotter, some tubes would be cooler. And it worked really well. I wouldn't spend any additional money on a Pro Junior, especially. On a Blues Junior, that's not where to spend the money. Just get do the R51 trick I've shown. How's Excalibur project coming along? I just discussed that in the previous video, so sorry, old guy. By the way, contact me. I can't keep calling you old guy. I need to know your name. But uh, yeah, the Excalibur is going to be making progress again soon. Am I planning to do a deluxe superhead? I'm doing a, deluxe reverb and other uh, uh, 6v6 classic in the coming months. But in general, I don't like to build uh, existing amps. Uh, yeah, so I prefer to do a little bit of my own stuff. The Excalibur 15 seems at first glance to be a copy of a Vox. It's not, for reasons that too long to get into right now. I would like to build a 5E3 amp. Are the manufacturers you suggest? That's hard. Uh, there was a there was a company that was doing them, offering very good kits on those. I can't remember the name of them, and they have stopped. Basically, you're looking at either the Mojo Tone or the Tube Depot. The Mojo Tone is more authentic. The instructions aren't as good, and there are a couple of mistakes, I think, in their layout. The Tube Depot one is fantastic, but it's a very modern take on it. Uh, with any of them, you get what you out of it, what you put into it. Um, but I don't really focus on kits. When I see kits, it's because people tried to build them and they didn't work, and they want me to make them work. Who do I use again for recones? I use Dave Halford at halfordloudspeakers.com, HALFORD. He does fantastic jobs. I'm worried about Bugera Power Soak damaging the 1484. Yeah. Don't use Bugera anything, especially load boxes, attenuators. Load boxes and attenuators are a dangerous enough thing where you don't want to save any money. You want to get something good like a Sur or a Fryette. But Bugera is a bunch of rip-off artists and copycats and people who dodge intellectual properties, and they are bad for the industry. So yeah, I don't use Bugera anything. New SLO or BBE 100. Play some. If you're in the market for an amp that costs that much, find a way to play some. One will sound better to you. I've played both the SLO and the BBE and the BE 100. They feel very different. If I were to choose one, I would go with the Soldano because my own hard rock tastes pretty much don't go past Rush and Tool. That's as high gain as I would ever need, and most of my settings would be more of a Zeppelin or 70s Rush kind of thing. But if you're into the metal, the BE 100 is a pretty awesome thing. Ordering parts, I use Mauser as much as possible, except for very guitar amp specific parts where they don't have everything, in which case I use CE or amprepairparts.com or tubedepot.com. But as much as possible, I try to spec everything from Mauser because I can see all the specs. DigiKey's site is very difficult to navigate, though it's doable, and they have some really good products. I use them when I need to. Mauser's website is pretty easy to navigate once you get the hang of it, as long as you're using the web version. If you try to do it on your phone, it's horrible. They changed their web browser search criterion. It's just useless. Antique Electronics Supply is the consumer version of CE distribution. I'm in there as a dealer OEM, so I'm with CE distribution. I get discounts, but Antique Electronic Supply is also called tubesandmore.com. That's the retail branch of CE distribution. Worked on the AC4 and HWs. Yeah, I worked on one. It was junk. Don't recommend that or the current production ones. The AC4 and the AC10C series are just awful. Trinity amps. Yeah, Trinity. That was the brand. They had really good 5E3 kits. How does one become a client of yours? I'm hoping to be able to accept new out-of-town work again soon, but I've had such a backlog, as I said in the previous live stream, that I have not been accepting a lot of stuff lately because I cannot guarantee a turnaround. Supply chain really messed me up starting in 2020, and things like tubes and capacitors were impossible to get for a long time. I had a huge backlog of Fender reissue and blues and DeVille amps pile up because the 47 microfarad F&Ts were out of stock everywhere for a long time. It just all adds up. How do I feel about the commenter's statement about the impedance curve with aux being dangerous to output transformers? I don't. It sounds like he has researched this more than I have. I have not researched load boxes and reactive stuff and all that very much because it's not something that I need. I use I use dummy coils for testing amps here, because I'm testing them, but I'm not doing a gig with a dummy load. Basically, if I needed to know that, I'd call John Sir and say, John, what should I get? And I think he'd probably say the Sir reactive load. If I needed something that did what the aux box did, I'd look more into it. I like the promise of the aux box. I like the promise of a lot of those things. I would just be very, very careful with especially with any vintage amps output transformer with that kind of stuff. So, hey, Colin, this is a PV Butcher. I got all the filter caps changed out in it, and then the light crashed, and I turned it back on, just kind of doing a Q&A. The rest of this is going to be pretty simple stuff, and I just got tired of trying to work while talking. So it's an impromptu Q&A. Hey, Stanley. That's right. Sorry, I still wear your t-shirt, Stanley. I've ruined a lot of PCBs with solder braid. Oh, man. Solder braid is all over the map. The good stuff, bad stuff is terrible. A lot of it doesn't have enough flux built into it. And you have to have a very hot iron. I was doing this work. I've got a Hacko 936, and I had it set to 750 degrees, about 725 degrees, I'm sorry, Fahrenheit. That's like, let me see, 75 Celsius. That's hot. I use Tech Spray number 4 No Clean. Works great. It's got flux embedded in it. Of the pumps out there like this Sterling static free is the best I've ever found. Of course, it's no longer made. I've not tried some of the newer ones that are really pretty anodized aluminum with the silicone tips. I need to order some and try those. The great big blue ones work well, but they don't work forever. The white tips and the black tips burn, and there's a lot of mechanical force when they eject. I'm a big guy. I'm not trying to be like, I'm Mr. Macho, but I'm like 6'2", 240. I'm very strong. It's really hard to control the jolt of that thing when it fires off, and you can damage things. And the little bitty cheap $9 solder suckers you get most places suck, but they don't, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, pretty much the best options are this or a good desoldering station, and those clog up, and I've had bad luck with them. Brad's works well. You have to spend a lot of money on those, and I'm a miser, so I use the Tech Spray No Clean as much as possible. Let's see, Engineer SSO2. I believe that's the Japanese one with a Teflon. Yeah, Hacko desoldering stations. The really good desoldering stations are expensive. I could justify it. I just have not yet. What do I think about the brown box? It's okay. It gives you preset voltage drops. It's essentially a bucking transformer. I've done that. RG Keen published the basic plan for how that works using it. His used a 12 volt transformer. You could either get a 12 or 6 volt drop. The brown box is just putting that in one package. I think they're lighter and easier to use than a Variac. They cost a good bit more. I was kind of, between friends, I was kind of turned off by the guy who makes the brown box because he joined a lot of Facebook app groups that I was on and just was selling the hell out of that thing and was dismissive of any questions about it and contentious about any other way to do it. And he kind of got unpleasant to me and some of the moderators. So that left a bad taste in my mouth, but I have no nothing negative to say about the product. If it does what you need it to do and it's in your price range, go for it. I personally use a Variac, but I'm used to adjusting things, and Variacs are not very portable. You can also use some UPC computer supplies that'll constantly give you 110 or 120. They're about $60 most places, Amazon, etc. Yeah. The heat when soldering, you have to be hot enough. If I were to turn this thing down, uh, I have nothing but bad solder joints. Or if I were trying to use a Weller handheld iron, even a 35, 40 watt. Anything I should be aware of in my Valve State 2000? The fan is getting noisy now. Well, fans and those things can often be replaced by computer fans. Look for brushless DC motor computer fans. I tell you what, Marshall was not specking out anything esoteric as far as the fan that goes. They were getting whatever was cheap on the market. The issue is whether it runs on AC or DC. But computer fans these days are much quieter than they used to be. Um, uh, Valve State 2000s, they're fairly old school TO 220 style transformer stuff, not transistor stuff, rather. The only issue with those is if the transistor is still available, but there's nothing wrong with them. The cheaper Chinese-made Variax is reliable? I can't speak to long-term reliability. I've gotten quite a few of them for customers, the red ones from is it partsexpress.com? Yeah, partsexpress.com carries them, and no one's had any failures with them, and they're running a lot long hours. What I have found with them is they need to be calibrated, by which I mean you need to take turn it until you actually get 120 volts coming out of the wall, or 110 volts, and you verify that your meter. Then take the knob off and then move the knob so where it actually lines up to 110, because otherwise, because it doesn't have a display what the actual voltage is, you may think you're at 110, but you're at 100 or 115. So, finding where the knob actually correlates to reality is the way to get those to work. Variacs, one of the tricks to them is some Variacs are grounded, some are not. They're designed to be isolation transfer, and you can use it either way, but you need to know. On my Variac, it was sold ungrounded, and I installed a ground that I can connect and disconnect. So if I have the Variac on an amp, I can choose to have it floating, which can be very important for some tests you do with say, the scope. Other times you want to have it grounded so that your chassis is grounded, But there's a lot to learn about this stuff. Is there something involving a light bulb that gets used when turning on amps? Yeah. Let's see if it'll reach. It won't reach. But let's see if I'll just show you a dirty corner of my bench. Let's see if I can get it to. That's my light bulb limiter. That's power on. That runs it through the lamp. And that's a 300 watt bulb. Also have a 150 watt bulb around here. Basically what you're doing is you're running the hot through the bulb. So the bulb needs quite a bit of current for it actually to light up. So if the amp is drawing an awful lot of current, that light will just glow bright. So instead of a fuse blowing or something burning inside the amp from all that current, the bulb just lights up instead. That's pretty handy. It's a pretty inexpensive thing, and it's literally just running the hot in series through the bulb. So it's 2 power switches and a standard outlet. I've got the bulb on one side of the outlet and the power to the amps on the other side. And what you just saw, it's actually got my phone charger plugged into it, so I have the current limiter off. Ignitor Tweaker 40. The output transformer is usually fine on the tweakers. The trouble is the with the tweaker 15 and the tweaker 40, especially the 40, is the transformer, the power transformer, not the output transformer. And I'm friends with Bruce Egnator, and I know it's a source of great consternation to him that his name is on something with that big a problem. And what it looks like is that the company that made them, the factory that made them for the Egnator company, and it's no longer Bruce who owns it, though it's Bruce's design, spec'd out a transformer that's supposed to have a setting for Japan where the power is 100 volts, and a setting for the US with 120, and a setting for UK and Europe with 240. And instead, they split the difference between the Japanese and the US. And so the amps run a little cool in Japan, and they run a little too hot in America, and the power transformer dies. Now, in theory, that's been fixed. I can't say that it has been fixed. I just know that every time I get a tweaker 40 in, I pretty much expect there to be a dead power transformer. The first stream died abruptly about an hour in, and I had a whole bunch of people here, and we were having a good time talking. So I just started another one doing impromptu Q&A. Lots of flux and heat on the top right tube. Yeah, I've not done the tube sockets yet. There is a lot of flux there. I don't think it's really heat. I think. Well, let's find out together, shall we? We'll squirt isopropyl. Screwdriver action for you. Reminds me we're out of orange juice. Yeah, I don't see any heat issue there. Just old flux. That happens. I'm going to change out these resistors in this cap, and I'll do the nasty toothbrush on all these. Flux is sometimes a problem. You can see a little bit here. Sometimes it'll bridge things that should not be bridged and cause arcing. It's not very common, but it happens enough that whenever possible, I like to remove great big gobs of ooey gooey solder flux. I'll stop there because Brad's not here. We won't have anyone to tell us what rhymes with sucks. Oh, there you go. He woke up early. Good champion. Yeah, man, don't you have the bell enabled? Want me to tell you about like and subscribe and hit that bell to get updates on the latest notification so you don't miss a thing? I'll go all watch mojo on you and give you 10 minutes of spam in each video. This video is sponsored by Bowl of Tubes. Need more tone in your life? Get you a bowl of tubes. Yeah, the MODs seem fine, Wes. I was real hesitant to start using them because the price was just so low. But, I waited to see how other techs liked them. And the 105-degree rating is kind of comforting. Hey, Brad, you missed it. The first stream just crashed and burned an hour in, just lost the connection. We're now at 31, almost 32 minutes here. So at any moment, the rug could get pulled out from underneath us again. Dwayne, carbon comps, metal film, plate resistors. Man, that's a bucket of worms. People fall into two camps typically. Carbon comps are always better sounding, or carbon comps are always noisy. Now, I have found in old fenders, for the most part, say a AB763, carbon comps sound right. And if you have good quality carbon comps that aren't 60 years old and the board is clean, they do have a certain something. Now, I have gone through a deluxe reverb circuit component by component, comparing carbon comp, carbon film, metal film. So there are places in the circuit where it does make a difference, and there are places where it does not. So I think people conflate way too many things. In a higher gain amp, I think metal film and carbon film are much better choices than carbon composite, because when you have a gain factor of 1,000 versus a gain factor of 100, every little bit of noise matters. Um, so I think those who think carbon comps suck are absolutely wrong. Those who think carbon comps are the only way to go are absolutely wrong. There are places to use them, and there are places not, and there are places where it doesn't really matter. I will say that I would not use carbon comps as plate resistors in anything with as much gain or higher gain than, say, a 1959 Super Lead. I would use them up to a Blues Breaker J245 or an AC30. And I do. I think they do have a little something to offer, but a lot of it is, was the circuit done well, designed well? Is the layout done well? And is it all operating as designed? And then people get sidetracked with other things. Like I talked about, hey, this 72 deluxe reverb doesn't sound as good as this 66 deluxe reverb. Well, to the owner's perspective, the 72's got brown caps, the 66 has got blue caps. Oh, it's the blue caps. No, it's not the blue caps. It's a lot of cumulative things that make the difference. There are an awful lot of restored 60s Fenders on my channel, which have carbon comps that have zero hiss or hum or buzz or any problems. I have not used any VHT amps under. Yeah, I've only used very few VHT amps, and they were very expensive amps from back in the day. I have no experience with the less expensive models now. I'm sorry. If one comes in, I'll get one in. Yeah, Martin Music is the place in town. Drop off amps. At this point, I'm only taking in amps locally for local players because I'm still playing catch up on the backlog. I hope to open it up to people from across the country again soon, but it's been hard keeping up with the parts availability. Oh, I did have a Classic 18. Yeah, that's right. The VHT Classic 18. I had one of those come in, and I agree with Brad. It didn't have much wrong with it, and thank God for the owner, because if much had been wrong with it, it would have been a write-off. I'm loving the 335. I'm still getting to know it and still doing little tweaks. And the weather just changed radically in Memphis. We went from highs in the 80s to highs in the 50s. And all my Gibsons are suddenly like, you don't need no neck relief. So I'm still tweaking, getting it just where it wants to be. My strats are like, whatever, man, let's play. I'm not nuts about the bridge humbucker in it. It's a little congested in the upper mids to me, a little bit too round. But I don't like changing pickups in a 335. As in, I'd almost rather go change tires or go to the dentist. So I'm gonna wait and see if there's just some magic setting, height adjustment, whatever, that I'm like, oh, that sounds great. But hey, Pete. But I'm probably going to change that at some point. And there's just so much out there to research. I mean, how the hell are you supposed to know if let's just look at one brand. Say that you want to spend some good money because you really love this guitar. You're like, okay, bare knuckles. How the hell should you know if you're going to like a mule better than a Stormy Monday in that guitar? You won't unless you try it, and trying it in a 335 is just a big pain in the butt. um, you know, I could say, oh, I'll just get a throwback. They seem like really well made pickups, and no slamming them, but I can't afford a throwback. And I used to, you know, what's the other guy? Ron Ellis, and Ron's a former client. I still have his phone number somewhere. I could probably call Ron Ellis and get a discount, or I could probably get a discount from being in the industry, so to speak, from throwback. But I don't want to do that. Especially if something I review on this channel, I want to have bought it. I don't want to get the industry blah blah blah. Then I do a review. You know. Oh, I don't like doing cheat connections in a 335. I like it all to be solid to solid. I just don't want to have to think about it again. I miss the days when you're like, hey, what do you want in your Gibson? The Gibson ones that come in it, or the Gibson ones that come in it? Of course, you spun the wheel as whether they're any good or not. But it's easy to chase um, delusions of tone, or uh, think that if you spend enough, you'll get back some magic ability to play better. This just has a little bit of honkiness that other bridge humbuckers have not had, and I think uh, you know I might be happy with a Seymour Duncan 59. I might be happy with a Mojo Tone, whatever their fairly inexpensive PAF clone is. I might only be happy with a $500 throwback limited edition. I don't know. I'll deal with that later. Um, Thoughts on Jim Will? Hey, is it No Bud? No Booty? Uh, yeah, I responded kind of to the Jim Will tested what makes amps work, whatever video in the previous live stream. Once I'm done with this one, this one I don't know if I'm going to put up as a regular video, because this is I don't I'm not sure that people will see the chat that I'm responding to here. I need to see how that is. But the previous one certainly is going to go up. You can watch that. I thought he um, asked some very good questions. I don't think he found the answers, but I'm not trying to be dismissive. Plexico, how can we tip you? Nah, I charge enough an hour. I don't need tips. I'm making time for this because it's advertising. If I could take in all the amps that are being threatened to be sent my way, I would have enough work for 3 years. But I don't have places to put them, and I'm still getting through a backlog. So I'm all right. I appreciate it, though. Thank you. Well, if you're in Rhode Island and you need a good tech, I know it's not exactly across the way, but contact my buddy Lane Sparber in Queens. He's good. Any UK techs you trust make an AC30 Custom Classic as good as it can be? I know a lot of UK techs. Um, I would I would think that um, Roland Lumby in Manchester might be your guy. Just a tip, Brad. Thanks. Trust an Australian. We had a Scotsman in earlier. We should set the two of you against each other so you can be more vile. Oh, Janet, you're in Edinburgh. Who's in Edinburgh? Roland's in Manchester. He's a Mancunian. Metalhead, no. Sorry. What is my relation with David Grissom like? Spoken to him a few times. He's really nice. Met him once. He used my pedal, the Tailless, for a long time. I don't know if he's still using it or not. Um, he sold quite a few Taillesses for me, so I'm inclined to like him. But we've not really hung out. Can't say the C word in USA. Yeah, I was talking to a different Australian friend of mine the other day. And there it's just like saying pal or mate, but yeah, it has a different weight here. And, even Brad would use it with care on this platform. The international market is not the same thing as hanging out with your mates. Do I mess with tube radios? No, not at all. I don't mess with radios anymore. I've got satellite in my car, and I've got the internet at home. Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York. Oh, I know some guys up there, but I can't think of them off the top of my head, and I'm not going to look them up now. Are you, Jason Perry? Are you looking for Canadian techs? Do I know Stuart from Time Travel Audio? I don't think I do. I'd have to know his last name. Are you looking for a tech in Toronto, or are you saying that's where you are? Because if you're looking for a tech in Toronto, my buddy Chris Church is in Hamilton, Ontario, and he's fantastic. Yeah, I hope to be on Tone Talk pretty soon. I missed one invitation. It was a last minute fill-in thing, and I didn't get the email in time. So it'll happen when it happens. Dan Lurie does good work. I didn't know he was in Burlington. Man, the chat's all over the place now. I can't follow what's going on. My phone is saying low battery remaining. Good time to end this before it just stops. So I got to go spend some time with my wife. There's a new episode of Shetland out tonight, so I've got to give that some good attention. So I'm going to stop here. I know that if I just stay here to answer questions, I'll run out of answers before you run out of questions. Get a real camera. Right, Brad. Okay, thanks. Send me one. Talk to you guys later.